My parents' perspective. At about 11 p.m, the sister goes to my mom and says there's a problem. Firstly, this hospital doesn't accept my medical aid. My mom asks, why did they accept it in the first place if they don't accept it? She can't say why. She doesn't understand it either, because day staff handed over tonight about a patient coming in. So obviously someone spoke to someone, but everyone denies talking to Hospital 1 in the first place. And secondly, both doctors deny ever hearing about me, and they did not accept me either. My mom says she nearly fainted. That night, matron is frantically trying to find a doctor or hospital to accept me. But because I am so critical at this point, no doctor wants to accept responsibility, and no one will treat me because medical aid also won't pay because it's the wrong hospital. My parents are frantically looking for an option. Do we get an ambulance and take her back to Hospital 1? Paramedics are already gone and you can't call them back because, well, they aren't authorized to come back. Can we move her? My parents ask if they can move me. My condition is too poor to move and I will not make it. Can someone just treat her? We're trying to find someone. It's a two-pronged problem. No one wants to take responsibility for a critically ill patient because, like I said, I'm young with no dread disease. No one wants to be investigated because of my death. If I die in hospital too, they are the ones that will be investigated, and so will the doctor that was treating me or accepted me into their care, and not Hospital 1. And Hospital 1 will not be held accountable, even though that's where everything went wrong. If it's a car accident, that is a different story. It'll cost 27,000 Rand to stay for the night. That's about $2,000. My dad looks at the clock and he says, it's midnight, so it's half the night already. It hits my dad that in his credit card he has exactly 14,000 Rand. That's half the price. So he asks, it's already half the night, can't he pay half? Hospital 2 agrees. My mom calls Hospital 1 asking what the heck is going on. Admin says, oh, the nursing staff should have known Hospital 2 doesn't accept my medical aid. And then they put her through to ICU. Nursing staff there say, no, the doctor should have known. And then the person in charge of night control calls and tries to apologize. And then they say, Hospital 2 should have known. Everyone's just passing the blame. My mom gets angry and says, you all should have known, and now we have to sit in the chaos. As soon as my dad paid the 14,000 Rand, the surgeon on call accepted me and gave a telephonic order for a painkiller. She said she would then organize a bed at Hospital 3. A bed becomes available at Hospital 3, but the doctor that side will not accept me. The matron talks to the staff saying, Hospital 3 has a bed, but it'll only take me in the morning if I'm still alive. My mom overhears this conversation. At this point, it's about 2 a.m. My parents are in the waiting room and the staff have been very nice, bringing them blankets and coffee. To my mom, this is eye-opening and kind of adds to the stress of the situation. As a nurse, when they'd have parents come in and their child was sick and it wasn't going well, the nurses would make sure they did everything possible to make sure the parents were as comfortable as possible for the inevitable bad news. And now she was on the receiving end. Both my parents are sitting there praying, saying, God, we asked you for a bed and now it seems that she's in worse danger. What is going on? Please help and please have mercy. They had realized later that they were both going through the same thing. My mom was in the waiting room and my dad in the balcony, both pleading with God, where they both felt God ask them, if I took her home tonight, will I still be your savior and God, and will you still serve and worship me, or turn your back against me? That is a heavy question, and a reality they did not want to think about. My mom's answer, if you take her, she will go to heaven. She served and loved you since she was a little girl. It'll break my heart, but as for me, where else could I go? If you take her or heal her, you'd still be God, and I will still be your creation. I can serve no other, but please have mercy. My dad's answer. A few nights before, my dad had gotten up at 2 a.m., not able to sleep. He turned on the TV and there was a sermon playing where the pastor had lost his son. And he was talking about everything he went through, how he grieved and how he dealt with it. My dad turned it off, not wanting to listen to it. And the question was posed, would you still serve me if I took her? My dad thought about it. He'd be angry, but he knows you can't turn from God. There's just too much that proves that he is God. He can't turn away from him. But he remembered a few incidences in the Bible where God had said something and the person would pray and ask God to change his mind. So my dad started asking God to change his mind, to let me live. And what good would it do if I died? Where is the glory? Because if I live, he'd be able to tell people I lived and that it was God and it was his will. My dad would tell whoever he could about what God had done. So they both prayed, pleading for grace and for mercy. From my perspective, it was a long night. I was still in pain even with the painkiller, and I had no idea what was going on. I thought my parents were nearby, so now and then I would call my mom, wanting to hear what's going on. But a nurse would always come in and say, don't worry about it, just relax, they're resting. Regardless of all the doubts, I made it to morning. My parents' perspective. The doctor comes in and asks my parents, why am I on Epilim? Do I get fits? I do not. And my parents told them I do not. My mom found out later that Hospital 1 put me on Epilim because I wasn't responding to any of the antiemetics, the nausea medication. They had a patient before, which again, none of the nausea medication had worked, but there was something in Epilim that helps prevent nausea. So they put me on it, but it wasn't helping. So instead of taking me off of it, they left me on it and then just added more stuff to it. This is how they were experimenting. My parents are told Hospital 3 will take me now and the ambulance will be there in half an hour. They're overjoyed. My perspective. The paramedics come in my room to get me. Different ambulance service. I'm like, oh man, here comes the pulling again. No. They had a board, stretcher thingy, that they put under me and safely slid me across, making sure not to pull or tug at all the pipes that I was strapped to. I was so surprised. They were on the ball. They collected all the information, made sure everything was right, double-checking how to use a drip machine, which the other guys didn't check. And then these guys even asked me how I'm doing. I struggle to speak because of the nasal gastric tube. It really hurts a lot. And when I swallowed, I can feel the tube moving in my chest. Not cool, not cool, not cool. Okay. The paramedic realizes and he asks if the tube is hurting me, to which I nod and he makes a note. Now, I want to ask questions and understand what is happening, just because that's how my brain works, but I also want to ask them how their day is going, but I can't because talking hurts. So I just lie there, like a potato. So to those paramedics, I hope you guys had a good day and you were super cool. The ambulance takes off. Still, no sirens. Not gonna lie, I kind of wish they had them on, but in my mind, because they didn't, I wasn't an emergency, which is good because emergency usually means dying. You could see how much I actually knew or how much denial I was in. I don't know, I'm one of those things. The ambulance has a normal car, but it's marked with the ambulance stickers and stuff, and they were in front of the car leading them, and my parents were behind us. The windows are frosted in this one, so the world doesn't have to watch me drive by. We get to Hospital 3. By the way, these guys did not get lost. I'm wheeled off into the hospital. I remember looking at the people sitting and standing in the hospital entrance and wondering what they were here for. Thinking about each of their lives and that most of them are visitors and they get to leave. Ambulance staff comes and hands me over and the same thing happens. No one wants to take me. We have to do this again.